able to join now, or if you would like to share this session with colleagues after the fact, you are able to do so. Good afternoon, everyone. I am not Jane Johnston. Unfortunately, she can't be here for this session, so I'm just going to be doing the introductions. I'm Rachel McIlroy. I am, as of today, has its launch today on LinkedIn, the co-chair of AphA's PHM network. So I'm stepping in that facility today. And this is the second of our lunch and learns on mental resilience that's been held by Caroline Beardall, our head gardener. The first session was 2 weeks ago, the recording of which is available on the AphA Hub if you haven't been part of that. As I mentioned, today's session will be recorded and made available if you want to play it back, or if you want to share it with any other colleagues who were unable to make this session. Just as a bit of a heads up, our next session will be on Tuesday, the 10th of June at 12 and be presented by Dr. Alice Byram, a GP and emergency physician and president-elect for digital health with the Royal Society of Medicine. Her session is entitled Reaching the Unreached, How Data Can Include and Exclude. So details of how to register are shared in the latest CEO update and also will be posted in the next update and the monthly magazine, which will be dropping shortly. The link is also on the events page of the website. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over now to Caroline. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Rachel. And hello, colleagues. It is lovely to be back with you. Those of you who were here 2 weeks ago, I have changed venue. This is actually where the head gardener lives. This is my office and I am situated in West Sussex, but you will often find me in rather bizarre places. The thing about gardens, before we start, is that you don't need to know anything about them to be able to do something with them. And it's absolutely true of people. So people are people, you're one, I'm one, we all have different quirks, but actually they are different aspects of the same thing as gardening. We have to look after living systems. We have to have the right quality of the seed, the right nurture and care, and the right environment. So I've been invited to share with you some thoughts about thriving through uncertainty and difficult times at the moment, specifically for you, to cultivate well-being in this changing landscape. Now, there are 3 key aspects to this: the well-being check-in, the navigating uncertainty with intentional habits, and building inner resources. Next slide, please. So I wanted to start with asking you a question. If you want to find out more about me, well, there's the QR code, that's my logo, and you can look at the website for the head gardener. But my question to you is, who and how are you? You don't have to tell me out loud, but we do have to think about, or we do want to ask ourselves, what's the one thing, or what is one thing? It doesn't have to be the only thing, but something that brings you calm or joy lately. If you could pop that in the chat, I think it would be nice to share. It might be something you did on the bank holiday weekend. It might be certainty or knowledge about a particular role going forward. It might be something nothing to do with work, or it might be work. While you're doing that, I'm just going to let you know and confirm that this session will most definitely finish at 5 to the hour as before. And the reason is so that you can reset for your 1 o'clocks, whatever that looks like. And also, as we are all hoping to be present, could I invite you to be extra present? Because if you want to look after your well-being, it's actually something you need to pay attention to. So whilst we all have that habit, and I know I do too, of just having a quick look at our emails, or having a little text because somebody you just need to deal with later, just try not to do that. Just try to actually be present and follow the process of this short time together to help cultivate your well-being. It's lovely just to see some of those chats, actually, that time with your horse, time with friends, walking with family and dog. Interesting, isn't it? How they're not, I love going to work. It's the thing that brings me joy and calm. It's sort of, therefore, going to the gym, great, catching up with friends. Some of these are people activities. So it's not that you're not wanting to be with people. We can all enjoy people's presence and people's absence. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a bit of quiet time. But there is something about nurturing and protecting your well-being and your mental well-being during times of unpredictability, and finding digging deep holes and filling them anew. Good God, I don't know what it is you're digging, but David. But there is something about noticing and identifying what actually brings you calm or brings you joy. Those of you who were here last time will remember the name it to tame it. Things that make you anxious, things that actually wear you out. Actually, if you can contain them in an identity and name it, that will help it not take over your whole life. It's the same with joy and calm. Identifying it, finding it, and saying, I enjoy this, is something that actually will help you recognize and practice being more joyful. Now, I'll explain how to do this in a bit. So, next slide, please. This is how the session is going to run. Bit of an introduction, the importance of intentional well-being and what is well-being, working out how to do the well-being check-in, navigating uncertainty through intentional habits, and building inner resources. And we will practice some of these either on your own or together, depending on how much you want to share. I'm happy to share mine, so at least I'll be able to give you some illustrations. Next slide, please. So, the importance of intentional well-being. Well, it wouldn't surprise you that the head gardener will bring you some pictures of gardens. On the left, we have, and those of you who have my newsletter will know this picture from my newsletter. We have cups of, well, they look like cups of tea, don't they? But they are prettinesses in a garden which have been given water, sunshine and shelter. And they have blossomed. They've even got some sparkly lights around them. All very nice, all very happy. That is where you get what you need if you're a daisy or a purpley pansy or whatever those plants are. I don't know an enormous amount about plants, but I just do know how they work. But they do need water, sunshine and shelter to actually be well or to blossom. This, on the other hand, on the right-hand side, is my herb garden. Now, I'm sorry to have to say that it used to have beautiful mint, beautiful, those sticks in the middle row on the left-hand side, they used to be tarragon. And at the bottom, there was some oregano and there was some old mint and some sage that looks like crisps. And to be honest, they were doing really well when I watered them and when I actually gave them a sort of cellophane front. But it blew away. And then the sun came. And then I didn't water them. And they shriveled up and they died. And to be honest, I know how that feels. And I'm sure you know how that feels. That actually, if we sometimes are too exposed to sunshine and not enough water, then actually we feel shriveled up. We feel burnt. And that's what happened to those plants there. And that is exactly why we need to think about, not just for our physical selves, which is also important, but actually our psychological selves and our emotional selves, what we need to put in to keep us well. And you do need to do that intentionally in the same way that you need food and water to actually be able to function and keep the physicality going in your body. Next slide, please. So when we're looking at what well-being is, do you think it's the same as happiness? Pop it in the chat. Do you think well-being is the same as happiness? Anybody? Contentedness. It leads to happiness, possibly, yeah. But it's not the same thing, is it? So if it's not being happy, what is well-being? There's lots of things about focusing on your well-being. Well, the WHO have come up with a definition. They define it as mental well-being as a state in which you can cope with the normal stresses of life, work productively, and contribute to your community. So there are three things that well-being gives you. It gives you a coping with the normal stresses of life, and that's very similar to some of the work we did about anti-fragile and the resilience talk. There is, so that's the kind of bounce back ability or the bounce forward that we talked about. So the coping with the normal stresses of life, working productively. If we are well in ourselves, we actually produce good work rather than perhaps just being present and not actually delivering what we should be delivering or at the standard we'd like to. Sometimes we don't work at the standard we'd like to because we're too tired, we're too stressed, we are not feeling well in ourselves. And I know that we've each had times where we really are motoring and doing our best work, and there are times when we really haven't. And that is about working productively and contributing to your community. It doesn't mean you have to go and do charity work in your local town. It means making a contribution to your team, to your organisation, to the people around you, maybe your family, but actually making that contribution. So for the WHO to define the components as emotional and around emotional, psychological and social means that actually it's something that is an active state, not a destination. You don't get to well-being and have arrived. You know, if you physically want to lose weight or put on weight, you get to a number and that's a destination. Well-being is not like this. Well-being doesn't have a I've arrived moment. It is a practice that you do. It's a doing word, I suppose. So it's more of a verb. And in terms of not being happy all the time, that is okay. If you're feeling grounded and balanced and connected to your community, to your fellow teammates, to your organization, then you can still be in a state of well-being rather than not well. And that's really difficult when things are very uncertain. So you can actually not be happy, but feel balanced and okay. And that point that I think it was Paula made about the destination, the road to happiness. Well-being is that doing word. And I think that there is something about the fact that we use language quite loosely these days, and the interchangeability is actually something that we do as a shorthand. And actually, that stability and calm, Paula, you're absolutely right, is something that is the grounded, the balanced, the ability to cope with shocks. You know what it's like when, I mean, even when the rain comes, you put your hood up on your coat, or, you know, when you get buffeted by the wind, you don't actually fall over because you've got enough stature, you've got enough grounding to not fall over. It's the same with well-being. So let's check in on our well-being. Next slide, please. We'll all be in different places. There are some ways of checking in on how our well-being is going. How's the journey going for you in terms of well-being? So try the first one. Oh, I can't spell heart. I'm sorry about that. Head, heart, body scan. It is supposed to be HEART. I apologise. But just try these three questions to yourself. What's on your mind right now? Not the course. What's on your mind right now? Is it your next holiday? Is it what you have for lunch? Is it that you mustn't forget to go to the supermarket? Is it that you don't know if you've got a job? You haven't done the email or the presentation ready for 1 o'clock? What is on your mind right now? And notice whether that is a positive thing that's on your mind right now or not a positive thing and something that you don't want to do but have to do. And having decided what is on your mind right now, how are you feeling emotionally about that? Are you anxious? Are you happy? Are you thoughtful? Are you relieved? Are you anticipating? Are you nervous, excited, nonplussed, confused? How are you feeling about that thing that is on your mind? And what's your body telling you about that? Every now and again, I have to remember to drop my shoulders. If you notice now that your shoulders are up here, how are you going to drop them? What is it, the thing that is making you tense, that makes you need to just deal with a niggle or a pain? Maybe you're sitting uncomfortably. Maybe your body is tired. Maybe you've been for a run and it feels energized. How is your physical being? And being aware, just not even fixing those questions, but noticing those questions in 60 seconds can help bring awareness, which is the first step to balance. Because if you don't actually check in with your head, your heart, and your body, then you don't know where you are on the road of well-being, on the journey. So that's the first top tip that you can take away. Think about what is on your mind, how you feel about it, what's in your heart about it, and what's your body telling you, because there are lots of signals that it gives us. The second one is a bit of an assessment, really. And this one is for being able to sort of define what works for you. So some of these things that I'm going to suggest next won't work for you, but some of them will. So the things that might work for you, simple rituals. Do you have tea in the morning? Or do you journal every morning? Or do you go for a run every morning? They don't need to be rigid things, but they do need to be things that you do not just because, but that because they ground you. I have come up with a new approach to brushing my teeth. I now do nothing when I brush my teeth. So twice a day for 2 minutes, and I have an electric toothbrush, so I know it's 2 minutes, I just brush my teeth because my brain goes so quickly all of the time and I'm racing away thinking about all sorts of things, thinking about you, thinking about the work I'm doing, thinking about another book I'm writing, thinking about PowerPoints, about clients I'm working with, thinking about podcasts. I'm thinking about so many things all the time. But when I'm brushing my teeth, every morning and every evening, I stop and I think of nothing but I am brushing my teeth. And my mind goes off to other things. And I bring it back. I am brushing my teeth. And it feels like ages. I can't tell you, it feels ridiculous. But it's like, when is this going to end? But it's very good for me to just be grounded in the routine. And it might be that you do something similar, making a cup of tea in the morning, walking the dog, particularly if it brings you joy, that actually is good for you to do on a regular basis. As human beings, we actually like rituals and routines. It's a bit like why we, it's quite good for us to have a meal together as a family. If your family is around you or with a cohort of people as a regularity, or even to have lunch at all, which I know sometimes doesn't happen. Second one is around setting digital boundaries. Now, this really made me think about whether I would dare say this to a group of people who I know are more of that persuasion than I am, perhaps. But actually, uncertainty loves to sneak in to unnerve us through our news feeds. So this is something we need to be aware of, and you decide whether you want to do this. But taking a tech-free 30 minutes every day is actually quite good for you. I can feel worried or anxious if I leave my phone in this office when I go into the house. Well, what if someone calls? What if it pings? What if something happens? Doesn't matter. You shouldn't need to stop a conversation because your phone's pinged. You know, this is about habits to actually try and give your human self a bit of a break. So the doom scrolling, which some of us might do, perhaps give it a set time. Perhaps give it a, I'm going to have to stop myself doing some of this. Giving yourself those kind of boundaries about those things that actually give you a negative aspect to your journey and don't add to your well-being. The third one is about joy anchors. Now, that's something that we did just at the beginning there. So as opposed to looking back, what makes you joyful? What gives you calm? Ask yourself every day, what small moment can I look forward to today? You know, it might be a walk, it might be the drive home, it might be a phone call, it might be the fact that you've got a tuna sandwich for lunch, if you like tuna sandwiches. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. The reason joy anchors work is because they restore a sense of control. And we did talk in the last session about circles of control and what you can control in yourself, what you can influence, and what you have no control over. But when you have a sense of control, actually, you can then feel more stable and grounded because of it. And to achieve a sense of control, you can ask yourself, what's something I can look forward to today? So I'm going to ask you this in the chat. Somewhere between now and going to bed, what is it that you can look forward to? Pop it in the chat. Corned beef hash. You see, that wouldn't bring me joy, but I'm glad it does you. So I will get joy from thinking you get joy. So that will be nice. That will be nice. Anybody else? Oh, with apples, dear Lord. A gym session. Right, okay. Anybody else? One small thing you're looking forward to. Maybe you're going to text a loved one. Maybe you're going to write a to-do list. Drawing practice. Ah, nice. Cooking for us both. Swimming. Wonderful. You know, these are things that may not bring joy to other people in any way, shape, or form. But if they bring you joy, if it's something you can look forward to, this is something that restores a sense of control. Having noodles. Yeah. I'd quite fancy some noodles, actually. So, you know, these are things that you can access, and often they're not related to the thing that brings the anxiety. And of course, you could say, oh, well, that's silly. You know, that's easy. That's just home. No, it's something that you are going to experience in the same way you're also going to have a difficult conversation with a team member, or you're going to have, you know, be waiting to hear if, you know, your annual leave allowance has been sorted out by your employer. Yeah, it's not cheating. You see, that's a good question, Paula. What if we can't find something we're looking forward to? Is it cheating to then plan something I can say I'm looking forward to? I'm looking forward to making a plan for something I'm looking forward to. That's okay. Because it's about taking control. You know, I love my life. I'm very blessed. I know that. But I love going to bed. It's one of my absolutely favorite things. I should be doing sleeping for the Olympics. You know, it would be absolutely my sport. I love going to bed. And I am really looking forward to going to bed. That doesn't mean I'm not looking forward to the rest of the day. It just means I like going to bed because it's really snuggly and it's really comfortable and I get to read my book. Not my book, obviously. I do read my book, but not. But that's something that is, it's not a bad thing. It's something I actually enjoy. So, there's a small moment. You may be like having a shower or putting on lipstick or brushing your hair. These are small moments. I've also put in there something about the team check-in. So the team check-in is, and I've put it in the annexes, and I will go through it. But actually, this is where some of those the work that we did for COVID in the Southeast. When I was working in the NHS in the Southeast, I was actually looking at what it is that we can do to check in with our teams to make sure that they are okay. Even when you say to somebody, how are you? And they say, fine. And you know full well they're not. Because actually that doesn't help, does it? We talked last time about the social battery and how to recharge that. But actually, some of those tools are really difficult to remember and to get hold of. So what I've actually put in the annexes, and we'll go to them at the end, is a way of doing that team check-in so that you've actually got some resources to do that. So we'll come back to that then. Okay, next slide, please. So forgive me, we were a slide behind. So these intentional habits of doing things and structuring support to your mental clarity are the things that are absolutely vital for you to give yourself that architecture, that pot within to put your plant, or the kind of the border within which you're working. Some of those boundaries, you might call them guardrails, or the kind of the edges of where you operate within. Okay, let's move on. So we've got some resources here to think about. Now then, how would it be if we took 1 minute's silence? And we're going to do this, and it's going to be for a whole minute, which I will time. And I would like to ask you if you can just think about your breathing. We're not going to do a breathing exercise, but I just want you to notice your breathing over this next minute, and we'll start that now. And that's a minute. Now, be honest. How many of you thought about something else during that minute? Put your hand up if you forgot. If you forgot that you were supposed to be thinking about your breathing. Yep. Okay. Right. It doesn't matter that you did. Okay. I did. I was, oh, I'm supposed to be thinking about my breathing. Okay. Now, I noticed in my breathing that it was very, very slow. That's because I do breathing exercises before I do a presentation so that I can slow myself down. If I didn't, I would probably be talking at a pace like this because I actually get really excited. So I have to do breathing exercises so that my my external persona is managed and slower to help share the messages that I'm keen to share. But I kept forgetting, even in that 1 minute. Laura, that's very honest. You don't need to share. I'm not going to ask you how you felt. If you want to share, you're very welcome to put it in the chat. Thank you, David. But you don't have to. You don't have to tell anyone anything. But for 1 minute, you just sat with yourself. And for some of you, that will have made you really anxious. For others, it might have become quite meditative and thoughtful, and your breathing might have slowed because you're just concentrating on just your breathing and being absolutely present. One of the things I find, even as an excitable person, is I'm a cricket scorer. And when I have a very busy week, I think, oh no, I don't want to score on the Sunday afternoon because it's 5 hours of sitting there doing dots and things. Non-cricket scorers won't get this at all. It's totally fine. But actually, I can't think about doing anything else when I am scoring a cricket match because I have to be entirely present. And I worked out that actually, even after a busy week or with a busy week coming up, to sit there and have to be present for 5 hours is a deeply relaxing thing to do because my brain was not allowed to chat because I had to look all the time at what was going on the cricket pitch. When you breathe and watch your breathing or listen to your breathing or notice your breathing for 1 minute, it already takes you on the journey of well-being because, as David quite rightly says, your heart rate slows. It's useful to try and capture it when you become in a state of anxiety, but actually, just to do it once a day. Maybe it's the thing you could look forward to, giving it a go once a day. Maybe it could be part of a routine. One of the other things is gratitude. Now, I really struggle with gratitude because I feel truly grateful for lots of things, being alive being one of them. But actually, sometimes I'm really, really irritated and I'm not in the least bit grateful. And that's because I'm a human being. Okay, so I think that we have to be careful with gratitude because sometimes we can feel ungrateful and cross and stressed. And actually, things are unfair and unjust in the world. But actually, if we can find 3 things to be grateful for at the end of the day, it gives us back more control. And it can be your corned beef hash, if you must, which I would not be in the least bit grateful for. But I'm quite sure that whether it's the noodles at home or whether it's oh, I seem to have got Margaret Campbell has just arrived on my screen. Or whether it's things that you eat or your family or somebody has remembered to do something for you. That is gratitude is just things you say thank you for. It's not a special place that only certain people can do it. But actually to try and name 3 things that you're grateful for. You can even be grateful for the not things. I'm grateful I didn't get run over when I ran across the road when I didn't use the pedestrian crossing. Yeah, that's okay. You can be grateful for that. Because actually this is about practicing. Remember, well-being is not a destination. It's a practice that you do. It's a doing word. So being grateful for yourself, being grateful for the fact that the Teams call worked, being grateful that you even managed to make it. Those are all okay things to be grateful for. And in terms of meaning and purpose, sometimes we call this the North Star, or, what our compass, or why do we get up in the morning and do our jobs? What is it that actually keeps you going? I'd quite like you to try and answer that question just now. In the chat is fine. What is it that makes you do what you do? And yes, sometimes it's I need the money to pay the mortgage. But sometimes it's because actually I make a difference. Yeah, okay, fair enough, Paula. Sometimes you worry if you stop, you'll never start again. I've had that. I've genuinely had that. That if I don't get up today, I won't get up ever again. I've absolutely had that. I have no concerns about sharing my mental health journey. I have had clinical depression, and I'm okay with that. There was a time when I couldn't believe how much the time was there and I wanted it just to go away. But actually, there is a tomorrow, whether you like it or not. And actually, there really are ways to practice being in the moment, being grateful, even when there is nothing you feel is to be grateful for, and actually what keeps you going. And actually, what is the purpose? Even if it's to do something for somebody else, that is purpose enough if you haven't got meaning for yourself. And that is something on the road to well-being, of being, that we need to keep practicing. Yeah, sometimes we have to. We just have, we have to buy shoes for kids, we have to feed our family. We have to make sure the lights stay on. There are some really basic things we have to do. And I'm not in a different position. I might look like I am, but I have to work in order to pay the mortgage. I want to live in the house that we live in. It's our forever home. My husband and I are never moving ever again forever. And actually, therefore, I need to go out and make money. Now, I do it in a way that I try to do my best for people, because that is actually what I'm best at. It's not that I couldn't go and work in a factory. I could. But actually, I'm trying to be my best self, be good to myself in terms of my journey of well-being, and actually to think of all the investment I've had from the NHS and from my walks of life and learning that I've done to give back. So obviously, these lunch and learns are pro bono, and that's absolutely fine. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. But actually, it's because this is stuff I know about, that somebody invested in me. So I want to share it. So actually, these are things that create purpose and meaning. It doesn't have to be that, higher state. But yeah, to be able to afford to go on holidays. These are things we like to do. And what is being alive about? It's about making a difference. It's about doing things. And yes, it's about being well along the way. And sometimes we're not as well as we could be. But that is something that we can change and affect as we have control of ourselves, not necessarily the environment around us, but we can nurture ourselves and care for ourselves on that journey, just like you would any little plant, any seed that from every time I keep saying this, when you have the seed, which is you, seeds put roots down before they come above ground as leaves of whatever they are, plants, vegetables, whatever. You put your roots down, that anchors you. And that is part of your well-being journey, is actually creating that stability and those balanced roots. I do a piece on roots to results, which I won't distract you with today, but actually, if you don't have roots, you don't get results, because actually you've got to have the way to let the nutrients in. You've got to have a way to let people either care for you or provide you with water and sunshine, so you don't end up like my poor crispy herbs, which had way too much sunshine and nowhere near enough water. Because actually that is out of balance, and that is not a road to well-being. So there's three things there. Mindfulness in the moment, 1 minute to stop your racing mind. Gratitude and rewiring, to write down, even on a post-it, or you can, write it down and chuck it in the bin. It doesn't matter. But actually, the practice of writing it down is actually very good for you as well, because you've actually done it, not gone, oh, yeah, I thought about that, and then not remembered them. Actually, writing it down on a post-it is just to see things you are grateful for. And then thinking about your purpose, your meaning. And certainly, if we have meaning and we have a purpose, then actually uncertainty is less overwhelming. So this is something that is easier to talk about than it is to do, but I will give you an example. I was working on a contract which was really difficult and didn't bring me any joy, and I left. And I knew it was the right thing to leave because my values were being crossed. I didn't feel it was very truthful. If I'm actually really honest, I felt that there was some obfuscation and some lack of transparency about actually how things were working. And although I was really scared to do it, I knew it was the right thing to do. And that is why I did it. And I am still sure that it was the right decision, even though it was a scary decision to make. And it's not because, oh, it's fine, I could just move to another contract. I'm still looking for that contract, but I absolutely know that I'm still doing the right thing. So, you have to sometimes do something difficult and scary because it is actually anchored in your values. I'm certainly much better at managing my own well-being by being truthful to my own values and my own self than having that knotty, anxious feeling and being scared of something that is really only a professional service. But I don't have that. I have calm because I did the right thing. And it was right for me, and it may not have been right for others. But doing what is the right thing for you is absolutely vital. Okay, let's move on to think about a key takeaway. So we are going to just move into 2 slides of annexes that I just want to show you. But do ask yourself, what is my key takeaway? What is the one thing that you will do to support your well-being this week? You don't have to do it forever. It might be that you'll take a minute of breathing every day for the rest of the week. Fine. It might be that you'll, limit your digital doom scrolling. Maybe. And it might be things that you only do this week or today. But if you can get the praxis of doing things and actually get used to it and create intentional habits, then they will become more good, which I know isn't grammatically correct, but they will do you more good if you are able to keep doing them. So I would like you to take away one thing, and I would like you to try and do one thing, because that is part of the journey. If we hop to the next slide, there is, these will come to you as the slides. These are 3 things I did for the Southeast #HowAreYou guide, which you can Google. I did it with the military back in COVID, but I thought it was worth resharing. Do the traffic lights maybe. Am I okay? At the end of the day or the end of my shift, am I red, amber, green? And maybe just, if you've got a colour pen, put it in your diary or stick it on your Outlook. Just, and notice how many times you are red or amber or green. And then what can you do to move from an amber to a green or a red to an amber? It doesn't have to be in one fell swoop. Even the longest journey begins with a single step. The going home checklist. You can actually use a checklist. This is a particular one with your team I mentioned. Coping strategies. We talked about coping strategies at the last session. This was about the senses and the grounding techniques. But underneath, there's a set of goals about creating a daily structure, and this is actually a focus around team. So these are things that I wanted to share with you. for you to be able to use in your own time. And the last slide, if you will, please. This is a sort of well-being conversation that you can have with your team or with yourself. There's nothing wrong with having a conversation with yourself, making an appointment with yourself about actually what has made you feel good, what has made you feel proud. You know, moving into the well-being toolbox and the drains and triggers and the early warning signs, the support and the next steps. Again, this did go into the Southeast hashtag how are you guide. And I just thought I would pop them on there in case people wanted to remind themselves if they either were in the Southeast or they didn't have access to them. Because it was something that I wrote, I felt perfectly legitimate to be able to put it into my presentation, even though I'm now the head gardener. So, Rachel, if you wouldn't mind taking those slides down, if people have any questions or comments that they'd like to make, we will end at 5 to 1, don't worry. If you'd like to ask anything, please put your hand up. If you'd like to share anything, or if you'd just like to not do anything, it's entirely up to you. But we do have 5 minutes. Thank you. Paula.
Hello, I wanted to spell a myth. Oh, my headset's on. I wanted to spell a myth that that all analysts aren't tech geeks. I hate tech. I rarely look at my phone. I love the numbers. I love the conversations. But yeah,
Nice.
don't do any of that tech.
Thank you. Love it. Thank you. And do you know, one of the things
We get
I love
a bad
is when,
reputation.
yeah, people do that to me, actually. I like it. I really like it. There was a lady called, you're sure you know her, Bola Owolabi. She's the, well, she has been the lead for tackling health inequalities. And my friend Jane Oromosu, when I spoke to her about this lady called Bola Owolabi, she said, I'll stop you there, Caroline. We don't have a long O as a person of Nigerian heritage. She'll be Bola. And since then, I've been able to say Bola's name properly because actually that is her identity. So I really like the fact that you have said, I'm not a techie geek and there's lots of us that aren't, and I'm really appreciative of that. So thank you so much. I think the insights and the numbers is absolutely, I hear the anchor and the difference to the tech. So really appreciate your input.
And you can say my name because it's written in my it's written on my background.
Can say, yeah, but I should be able to say anybody's name, you know, and this is why I think anybody should take the time to say each other's name because it's about identity.
True.
And is your surname Smejka?
It's Smaker. It rhymes with baker. It's Ukrainian.
Smaker, is it? Smaker
Yeah.
rhymes with baker.
Rhymes
you see, and
baker.
That's lovely to help me do that. Do you know Keiko Toma? So Keiko, I love the fact at the bottom of her email, she says she writes it phonetically for English people. You know, I mean, it's not that she's not, you know, able to. We should be able to say her name without the phonetic requirement, but and it's on her LinkedIn. Cake, as in Victoria Sponge, -O, Cake O, and it's just brilliant because it's kind of you should be able to say people's name. Doesn't matter what their name is.
Well, it gives people confidence to use your name, so people aren't just like, oh, Paula the analyst, and they're like, I can't Teams Paula the analyst. I'm going to need a bit more.
No, Smaker. Right. Thank you.
Yeah, simple.
That's 2 bits of learning. Okay. Anything anybody else would like to ask or share, or something that landed for them? They particularly. So different Laura, not different Laura, because you were Paula, but Laura Ridley is going to take the joy anchors. Nice. And yet 30 minutes tech free. That's lovely. Creating purpose by sharing these learnings with people I love. I really appreciate that. Anybody got any others? Anybody had any aha moments? Patrick? Oh, hello? No, you're on mute. Okay. Okay. If there's nothing else, then I will draw it up there. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks ever so much, Caroline. And yeah, as I've mentioned at the beginning, this session is recorded. That will be able to be found on the AphA website. We'll send out the details in due course with all the other things. Just again, huge thank you to Caroline for her time in presenting this for us, and hope it's been really helpful. Do use your next 5 minutes to stand up, have a walk around, get a glass of water, change your distance of what you're looking at, step away from the screen before you're stepping into undoubtedly another meeting. Look after yourselves, water yourselves, sun yourselves when you can, and take care. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you all.